Two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
It's a scoop session with our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department, where we are just days away from the
Judd,
NFL free agency period.
I'm sorry. I'm so tied up with NFL thoughts in my head. I forgot the coffee salute.
I have a feeling Purple Daily was spicy today. I have a feeling this is going to go off the rails here too, and I'm here for it. So, Dukes, let's start with my favorite thing was off microphone like 5 minutes ago. Judd coming back from like a bathroom break, and the three of us are having a conversation. Judd jumps on his mic and says, "Hey," and like we carried on our conversation. And Judd's like, "Hello." Can you guys? We're like, "Yeah, we can hear you. We're just in the middle of a conversation."
What? I was trying to find out what the conversation was about. I'm like the kid that sat
Hey,
down at the table.
Can you hear me?
You guys iced me out. I got iced up by my buddies. I thought I was among friends, and turns out I was just as an interloper.
Absolutely love it. That's Judd in a nutshell.
Love us some Judd. All right, so the Vikings are not going to tag Sam Darnold unless something drastically changes in the next 4.5 hours from when we're recording this. Can you help answer this? Does this mean that he is going to get far less money than some of these? Like, dude, Jordan Love, after 8 games, got $55 million a year. Tua, with major concussion questions, got $53 million a year. Are teams essentially just getting smarter and wiser and saying no more? He's not worth $40+ million. Or did the Vikings misgauge what his value is about to be on Monday and essentially blink first in the stare down with Darnold and these other teams?
Phil, he is the clear-cut number 1 quarterback available. There are enough quarterback-needy teams, but there are still questions, right? Like, I can certainly make the case that Sam Darnold is never going to do what he did in 2024 again. He can certainly be serviceable as a Raider or as a Titan or perhaps a Steeler if they can't get the Justin Fields contract done. But that was his career year last year. He is still going to get paid. But there are so many moving parts when talking about a sign and trade, a tag and trade. Certainly the idea was discussed. Like, for us to suggest it wasn't would be asinine. Yes, 100%. The Vikings internally discussed, okay, putting the tag on him, then working out a trade. We discussed going back many, many weeks that a lot of those talks would take place in Indianapolis at the Combine last week. Well, now as we're sitting here on March 4th, nothing has come to fruition. Let's also keep in mind his high-powered agents, Creative Arts Agency, multiple agents. They are a part of this process. You need them to play along, and it hasn't happened. And so, yeah, unless something drastically changes here in the next few hours, it's what Judd alluded to on Monday. We certainly alluded to it on TV Sunday, even going back a few days, Friday into Saturday, that he isn't going to be tagged. Now, this suggestion that the Vikings are going to work to re-sign him the next few days before next week, like, I'll continue to say, Josh McCown loves him. KOC still has a healthy opinion of him. Others in the building really like Sam. But he's not coming back at 1 year, $15 million, 1 year, $20 million. Sure, if the Vikings could get Darnold back at slightly above what he was playing under last year, okay, let's do it. Yeah, but otherwise, no, he's going to get paid. And hey, the end game here is, in all likelihood, the Vikings will land a 3rd-round compensatory pick 1 year from now. I get it. They don't have enough 2025 draft picks. It would have been nice to apply the tag, work out a trade, get like a 3rd or a 4th-round pick this year that you want to pick this year, not in 26. But all signs point to at least it will end up with a pretty good pick 1 year from now.
And Duke, the reporting on this entire story, as I talked about on PD today as well, reminds me very much of the Kirk Cousins departure, which is the Vikings want him back, but here's the price tag. And look, from Darnold's standpoint, it's my opinion that if Darnold comes back here, he should fire his reps, Because why would you come back this is your chance to get paid. It might work out. It might not. You know what? If you can get 3 years at 40 per, you take it, run to the bank, and hopefully it does work. But the other thing to keep in mind is, and this is something that's probably not being discussed enough in these scenarios of the Vikings want Sam back. The second he comes back, there is a clock ticking for JJ McCarthy to replace him. Like it would not be Sam is the unquestioned. Like there's this weird thing about, well, it's going to be like Rodgers and Love. Well, okay. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be benched by the Packers. I guarantee you, if Sam Darnold had 3 bad games, that's it. It's all over. So you're now at, hypothetically, $20 million per season. You're on the sideline and you're pretty much toast because you ain't getting a contract off that. So there's just no part of this equation that makes sense for either side, and especially for Sam to be playing here in 2025. 2024 is the year that he really should have made bank, and now he needs to cash in next week.
His representation fully understands that. I'm not even sure it would be 3 games. Could you imagine the noise after just 1 bad game? It's time for the JJ McCarthy era to start. And so while this is a great infrastructure for Sam, again, I'm not convinced Sam can do what he did in 24 again. And hey, if he goes to Vegas or Tennessee, he won't have the same infrastructure. It's not going to be this elite level that it is here. And so there's a lot of things that go into that, right? It's easy for me to suggest he's never going to duplicate what he did in 24, but there's a lot that went into his success in 24. But I'm telling you, Judd, his agents fully understand that. That's why for many, many weeks, I haven't been able to wrap my arms around the idea of Sam Darnold being back in purple. He is going to be elsewhere. The question the entire time was, could they work out a trade? As of right now, there's not a trade to be worked out. Just accept the 26 compensatory pick. Time to move on.
Can I totally different subject, Vikings related here. Something that we, for time purposes, did not make our latest Vikings news segment on Purple Daily, but I think it's interesting, and it has nothing to do with free agency. But Alec Lewis from The Athletic talked to an NFC evaluator. I love the way that we hide the identities of the people inside the game. An NFC evaluator whose team considered drafting edge rusher Dallas Turner last year laughed when asked about having any concerns following Turner's quiet rookie season. None at all, the evaluator said. No concern at all. Think of him like Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith, also kind of an undersized edge rusher coming out of college, young, first-round pick by the Eagles in 2023. Barely played in his first season as a rookie. He played 18 to 20% of the snaps. And then his second season, he plays way more and garners 50 pressures and 11 sacks, including the playoffs. And I think this is interesting. I've been curious about Dallas Turner. Is it a red flag or a bad sign that he didn't produce in his first year? And according to Alec Lewis and an NFC evaluator, if he becomes Nolan Smith breaking out in his second year, that solves some issues for the Vikings long-term for sure.
I remain bullish on Dallas Turner. More importantly, the Vikings remain incredibly bullish on Dallas Turner. The comp that oftentimes comes up is Jared Verse with the Rams. How much older? Declan, do you have the Google handy? How much older is Jared Verse than Dallas Turner? Is it 2 years?
So I think it's 3 years.
2.5 years?
Yeah,
is it even 3 full years?
24, turning, let's see here. He's turning 25 in November.
Okay.
And Dallas Turner, who I came in, I believe, pretty young, is 22 and will be 23. Just turned 22. Turned 22 last month. So he's 2 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah. 2.5 years. Okay, so
3.5.
I'm just
2.5. 2.5.
Whatever it is. Yeah, you guys are better with the math than I am. But we're talking a long time, right? And Jared Verse is a stud. I get it. Good pick by the Rams. Jared Verse is going to have an excellent career. But I'm just saying, coming from the Nick Saban defense, how complicated that was in Tuscaloosa. I'm just saying there's so much to love about Dallas Turner. Incredible athlete. I'm just saying, don't give up. I hope nobody is giving up on Dallas Turner, but certainly don't give up on Dallas Turner.
Yeah, and he also is or was coming into a team that had just signed 2 guys to rush the QB, and both were very good. And the other thing is, this is a 3-4 that's complicated. Like I didn't see enough to say he is anything near a bust. And I think they purposely brought him along slowly. So I would say the 2025 is going to be incredibly important, but I also am not concerned. Speaking of the defense and secondary, the clock is ticking on the Harrison Smith decision. What do we know about the safety?
Yes. Okay. One more point on Turner. There was an injury. Was it week 2, knee injury? Sometimes I mix up my injuries. Was it a knee?
Yes.
And he told me throughout the year, I'm fine. But let's not forget that he was dinged up early in the season. How did that impact the rest of the year? I'm just saying, Dallas Turner is going to have a good career. The Vikings are comfortable allowing Pat Jones to leave next week. Pat Jones is going to get a nice contract. Don't bet on Pat Jones being back here in purple. And the Vikings are like, okay, we have Dallas Turner. And hey, all sorts of interest in resigning Jihad Ward, but comfortable enough allowing Pat Jones to cash out elsewhere. On Harrison Smith, I'll continue to say my sense is he wants to play football for another year. That will be here with the Vikings. The love he has for Brian Flores, I'm telling you, not that he doesn't love Durante Jones, his Friday morning coffee sessions with Kevin O'Connell, others in the building that are important to him. But that bond he has with Flores is through the roof. Like if Brian Flores had gotten a head coaching job, like I'm almost convinced we'd be sitting here talking about Harrison Smith retiring, that he wasn't going to come back without Flores present. But with Brian Flores locked in, expected to sign a contract extension at some point before the season starts, but certainly locked in for 2025, I fully anticipate Harrison Smith to be back. I don't know what the contract will look like. I get it. There's some things to figure out, but he has taken a pay cut 2 consecutive years. He understands the terms. I'm just telling you, I would bet on Harrison Smith being back in purple.
The guard market is going to be interesting because there's always teams that are in need of. I mean, the Bears are going to be bidding on offensive linemen. The Patriots are looking to upgrade their trenches. Those are 2 teams with a bunch of cap space. But Trey Smith is off the board because the Chiefs are franchise tagging him or have already franchise tagged him. So the market just got a little bit more suppressed. Do you think at the end of the day, and I'll throw center in here too, because Bradbury is going to be 30 years old on the last year of his contract. Drew Dahlman is the premier center on the free agency market. He's like 3 years younger than Bradbury, but going to be pretty expensive. Of the 3 open interior offensive line positions, if I set the over-under at 1.5 new starters, do you take the over? Do you think they replace 2 starters in free agency or draft?
All right, Bradbury back. Brandel back, but he has swing potential. Like there's no signs based on some conversations at the combine last week that the Vikings are moving on from Blake Brandel. The question is he a starter or not? They are going to sign. I foresee them signing at least 1 guard. So it's a great number to set the over-under at. But I think the center's back. We know both tackles are back. So then we're talking about the 2 guard spots. Now, there's a bit of a question on Darrisaw, doing well in his rehab, but is he fully cleared by week 1? Underwent surgery early November, so early September. We're looking at approximately 10 months. I think Darrisaw will be okay. But if you're talking about the 5 spots, Phil, I guess there's a little bit of a question mark if Darrisaw is ready week 1. If he's not, soon thereafter, but he absolutely could be ready week 1. There are no setbacks or anything like that. He is doing phenomenal in his rehab. I will tell you this, the free agent from the 49ers, last name Banks.
Yep. Aaron Banks.
No interest there. He is not on the Vikings radar.
Okay.
The Colts guy, yes. Is it Freeze or Fries? I don't know how you say his
Will
last
Fries.
name. Yep. He's on their radar. And the Baltimore Raven. You have to say his name, but the Baltimore
Patrick
Raven
McCarry
is in that mix as well. Yes.
Yeah. We're big Patrick McCarry stands on this show. Because we received
right? He can play multiple spots.
Right. Yeah, we received an anonymous Purple Daily tip line email suggest like a listener's friend's brother-in-law connection.
Well, you brought that up last Thursday. That spurred me to check on the name, and it certainly seems like at least internally, he's very much on their radar.
Yeah.
But led to believe the 49er Banks is not on their radar.
Okay.
On Bradbury, are we positive? Because I agree with you on the
Well,
surface.
no, I'm
dudes.
not 100% positive, but
That's
yeah, my
credible.
sense is he is back. No, I'm not 100%.
I just don't know. I just don't know if you could have watched how the season progressed. And I mean, O'Connell talked about this, and you could be comfortable filling one guard spot and say, okay, now it's fixed. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if both guards changed. I wouldn't be surprised if a guard and center changed. I think I might be surprised if it's only one change. And Brandel's contract, like, he's worth keeping as a swing guy, to your point. So, like, I don't see them parting with Brandel. Bradbury, though, the more that we've gone through our blueprint exercise on Bradbury, there's a little bit more flexibility there. And I'm wondering if that could be the surprise move. If you had someone to replace him, by the way.
Big time interior defensive lineman, we get it. Can overpower Garrett Bradbury. But let's play this out. J.J. McCarthy, starting quarterback. The intelligence, the leadership. There are positives about having Bradbury attached to McCarthy. And I just don't sense, okay, Dahlman, I get it. Is he looking at approximately $18 to $20 million a year as the clear-cut number one free agent center? I just don't foresee the Vikings paying that number. Is he about to, outside of the Chiefs center, about to almost reset the center market? I just don't see the Vikings doing that. Now, I know the Packer is a free agent, so there are other centers available, but I just don't sense the Vikings are going that direction. I'd feel better betting right now on a guard or maybe multiple guards compared to a center.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be, man, Monday's going to be, this is the most money they've had to spend in free agency in years, right? Certainly going back before the Kirk Cousins signing in 2018. So we're operating in this world. It's also really hard as a general manager to spin all the plates they're trying to spin. Now they've got a lot of information from last week and going into the weekend, but while Byron Murphy Jr. and Cam Bynum are testing the market with conversations, you're trying to figure out, are they circling back to us, or do we need to be engaged with Asante Samuel Jr. and Javon Holland and all these guys? So it is a really interesting game of musical chairs that this is unprecedented in like the last 8 to 10 years for the Vikings starting on Monday, Doogs.
I mean, they have a good sense, though, after meeting with the representatives for all these guys last week. By the way, Kwesi was not in more of those agent meetings Thursday and Friday. Now, I was told battling some sort of illness, but again, I'll double down on what I said on Thursday. KOC was incredibly prepared to lead those meetings. I had now multiple agents tell me how impressive KOC was, just in terms of speaking about, what he envisions, roster management, holes to fill, just everything. Just he was incredibly impressive in these agent meetings last week. I'm not ready to read between the lines too much. I do believe Kwesi was battling something, right? Like if he could have been there, he would have been there. Now, if he was, maybe KOC still leads those meetings. But to me, that is really, really interesting. I wonder, I'd love to look at the language in the KOC contract extension. Is there anything to do with 53-man roster, more say, final say? I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe this is a better Thursday versus Tuesday talk or reckless speculation, but I'm just wondering aloud. I don't have the answer. I'm just laying out what I know, that KOC was very impressive leading these agent meetings last week.
So in those situations, is Rob Brzezinski the financial guy then? Because,
Yes.
ordinarily Kwesi would set the parameters on, because I'm sure KO does a great job of, hey, here's how we would potentially incorporate you, or Byron come back. But, I think the most important question, especially with your internal guys that you sit down with, is, okay, that's cool. What am I going to make? And Kwesi would ordinarily be the guy, I think, to draw the line in the sand or say, here's what we can go to. Brzezinski can do that. He's not the GM, But I would guess that's the one place where KO probably, he's got an idea, but that certainly wouldn't be his area of expertise.
100% fair. Those discussions, Rob, with some of those agents will continue this week. Like, what exactly is the price point on Byron Murphy Jr.? Same representation as Danielle Hunter, and the Vikings were well aware of the price point on Danielle. Like, there was legit interest in Danielle returning to the Vikings after, I guess it would be the 23 season. Mm-hmm. But hey, he hit the jackpot in Houston. There is a belief that there are enough teams poking around on Byron Murphy Jr. that it is going to take a healthy number. I don't know if it reaches 19 million a year or even 20 million a year, or if it's closer to 16 or 17 million a year, but it is going to be an enormous number. Is he willing to take slightly less to return here, comfort level, loving playing in a Flores defense, just everything that entails being a Viking? Is he willing to take a tick less to come back here versus going to, say, Indianapolis or another team, the New York Jets, a team rebuilding, right? Those would be two of many teams I would keep an eye on when it comes to Murphy interest. Well, if you're Byron, are you taking the big-time payday in Indy or New York, or is there a comfort level coming back here? Those are things that are being sifted through these coming days. But he remains as big an internal priority as there is. The Vikings absolutely want Byron Murphy Jr. back.
Before we get to the rest of Doogie's scoop bag here, Judd, let's say hello to MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, guess what, folks? Sports Dad wants to talk to you right now about trust. And when it comes to my friends at MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air, it's all about trust. Last week, I told you that my 31-year-old water heater was at its end. Well, guess what? Today, as I sit here in this studio, Nick is in my house right now replacing that relic. Wow. That's right. Sports Dad has so much trust. Not only did he answer the door when Nick came, but he actually has a guy in his house fixing it right now. And that's because they came to my house before and built up a trust. A 100% family-owned and operated business committed to taking care of you and your family. And when it comes to this stuff, obviously, nothing is more important. If Sports Dad trusts Nick enough to be in his house right now while he's not there, he's going to sign off and say that you can do the exact same. Start here. For service, call 651-615-4292 or check out their website, callmsp.com. Call MSP.com. It's time to say goodbye to some 30-plus-year-old appliances at Sports Dad's. It's a very sad day, but it's very happy because he knows he's getting quality service. Call MSP.com.
Man, I wish like the legit pizza person would just show up, and even if I'm not home, they're just cooking a legit pizza.
Yeah, that's
apparently
great.
How we roll here. So yeah, legit pizza, which you can find in the frozen section of grocery stores around the Twin Cities. Probably the best frozen pizza I've ever had. I think I've dabbled in now 3 of the different flavors over the past few months. The sausage mushroom is my fave. Stone baked, cracker thin crust, zesty tomato sauce, and that authentic at-home pizza parlor experience. Cut it into squares like a good Minnesotan. You won't regret it. Legit pizza. Try one and let us know what you think about it. So, Dukes, anything else in your Viking scoop bag, or can we get to a Timberwolves ownership update?
Yeah, there's a few more. No sense. I mean, when thinking about potential cut candidates, there's no sense that Brian Asamoah is in trouble. I think we can continue to wonder about Ed Ingram. Crickets when I've reached out, so I haven't received correspondence, which sometimes I can read between the lines on. But on Asamoah, like, enough of a leader, like DJ in the locker room, but special teams stud, and still a sense if a couple guys go down, he could go in. I get it. He's not a starter, right on that cut line, second team, third team, but enough value all around. Beloved in that locker room. Heck, the Vikings had him make an appearance at a Ronald McDonald house a few weeks ago, so he's willing to do so much in the community as well. Just no sense that Asamoah is in trouble. They do want Aaron Jones back. I'll double or triple down on that, but on their terms. So I don't foresee Aaron coming back for any sort of raise. Is it the same contract or a bit of a cut. Like they'd love to have him back at 6.5-ish, 7. Maybe there's a little bit of leeway there, but not much beyond that. So the question becomes, okay, if you're Aaron, you probably can get a little bit more money elsewhere, but you love it here. So are you willing to take a little bit of a discount to return to the Vikings? But that's where things stand on the Aaron Jones front. I'll continue to say it's hard for me to see Cam Bynum back. I know his name came up earlier, but there's going to be enough of a market on Bynum. I just don't see how it happens. Now, if Murphy leaves, okay, maybe a circling back, a lot of things going on at one time. I'm not saying never say never, but like if you're asking me the percent chance right now of Cam Bynum returning, I think it's in the 20 to 15% range. Like this isn't a 50-50 proposition.
I think if we get to Monday, I think Murphy's gone, because I think if he starts to, like, he's going to get paid. And my guess is he probably would have signed at the combine, because like he knows exactly the Vikings, I'm sure, put a contract proposal in front of him.
Well, I'm not sure on that, actually. This week, yes. I don't think it came up in Indy. I'll just say
really?
That. I don't.
No numbers?
No.
Well, things have changed.
No, not specific hardcore numbers. An idea of the range, but I don't think Brzezinski said, here's what we're willing to do. Here is a hardcore offer. I don't think it got quite to that point in Indy.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I mean, it may be happening later today,
right,
or later this week, before Monday. I understand that, but I don't think it took place in Indy.
Okay. When are we gonna finally do the dang thing here with the Timberwolves? When are we gonna pack up some boxes and move Alex and Mark?
When's that thing gonna happen?
All right, so let me clarify on something I laid out a few weeks ago in this space, that, hey, like optimism on a late March Board of Governors vote. So we got the decision on Monday, February 10th, but later in the day. So starting on February 11th, Glenn Taylor has, here is the new nugget, 90 days to exercise an option to appeal. Now, I'll continue to say, Glenn Taylor has 0 grounds on which to appeal. Like, best of luck trying to prove that one of the two arbitrators, maybe more so the independent arbitrator, Tom Fraser, is somehow biased. Like, I don't know what else you would appeal. To me, that would be the only angle.
Yeah.
Trying to prove that Tom Fraser was somehow biased in his ruling. There is no case there. And so it would be nice if Glenn declared here in the coming days or weeks, I am not appealing. But if he wants to stretch this out until we have more math to do, 90 days would be February to March, March to April, April to May. May 11th.
No.
He wants to stretch this thing out to May 11th.
No, Glenn.
That is possible. There's also a thought that, can Adam Silver step in and say, okay, let's move this thing along? What sort of power does the commissioner have? But technically, there is 90 days to exercise the right to appeal. We'd all like to think, let's just move on to the Board of Governors vote as soon as possible. But I'm just saying, this thing technically could bleed for a couple more months.
I mean, I guess it is the 4-year anniversary in like late April. So maybe we make it an official full 4-year process to get this team sold. Let's do it. Let's see if we can get to a $4 billion team valuation before the final sale is official.
I mean, I'm not breaking news though, right? I mean, you run into enough fans. I ran into a couple in your old stomping grounds, Buffalo High School, over the weekend, saying they are ready for change. It's time for Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez to take over. Questions about new arena. Where could that be? But the idea that they understand they have to privately finance said new arena. The potential of a new regional sports network. Okay, are they willing to pay Naz Reid what it'll take to keep him? What exactly does a Kevin Durant trade look like? Getting under the second apron next year, but understanding you still, in all likelihood, are going to be in luxury tax territory. So are they willing to pay the luxury tax? So a lot of questions like that. But from the people I've spoken with in the last, going back to February 10th, 11th, everybody that I've spoken with is ready for the new regime to take over.
Yeah.
Dukes, from a PR standpoint, can both sides not speak publicly until this is done? Because it's been, I think we got statements on the day of the judgment. Glenn, I'm disappointed. Mark and A-Rod were thrilled. But we have not heard a thing since, because to your silver point, for the good of the franchise, I think it would help to get out in front of this now and start to talk about the things that you just broached. So is this something where the sides cannot talk until it's officially done? Is that the problem here, or the hang-up?
That is the issue, yes. I mean, depending on how you define issue. But yes, I mean, if you're Mark and Alex, there is nothing to gain from speaking publicly right now.
Sure.
What if you say something wrong that one of the governors misconstrues, uses against you in that board of governors vote, needing 23 of 29 votes? I'm taking Glenn Taylor out of that mix. So there are 30 governors, but I'm taking Glenn out. So it's 29 other governors. You need 23 yeses. Well, what if you say something wrong, right? There's no good from Mark and Alex doing any sort of public media tour right now. And hey, there have been a number of attempts to track down Glenn. Those have all failed. So clearly Glenn is not doing any interviews right now as well. But yes, it comes down to, until the Board of Governors officially approves Mark and Alex, no interviews.
Yeah.
Which I get, right? I mean, as somebody who would very much enjoy talking to them right now,
Sure.
I completely understand. I'll wait for everything to be official.
I'm just saying it's in the best interest of the league to clear this up as soon as possible. I'm not assessing blame. I would just like to hear, hey, we own the team now. We can talk. And if we're going to wait till May, that seems very counterproductive to a business that ordinarily, at least from a league standpoint, is run pretty well. That's all I'm saying.
Agree, although there will be enough other distractions, right? I mean, the playoffs, just everything going on the court, other storylines. I hate the Kyrie Irving news today with him being out for the year, torn ACL. There's enough other storylines where I don't think nationally the Wolves ownership drama is front and center. But I had somebody suggest to me, is it possible that Adam Silver steps in and says, okay, enough is enough, Glenn. If you were going to appeal, declare it now or forever hold your peace. Let's move on to this Board of Governors vote. But technically, this thing could stretch until May 11th.
Did I see right a few home games ago that Alex was sitting in Glenn's seats next to the Wolves bench? I think that happened.
His exact seats, or was he 4 or 5 over?
It was right in the vicinity. I'm wondering, is that
would be
flex?
one heck of a story.
Is that a flex that, hey, these are my seats now? Is he? I'm assuming that's where he will sit, right? He'd probably rather sit over there by the Wolves bench to be closer to the action.
Glenn gets to retain seats and all that in this whole ordeal,
Section
right? So I would imagine Glenn, unless Glenn wants to move seats, but I would think Glenn, yeah.
Yes, put him up in the upper deck.
Oh, Glenn, enjoy your seats in the hockey press box.
But anyway, yes. I mean, could you imagine if we get to 4 years? By the way, on the court, Julius Randle feeling pretty good coming off Sunday. I get it. This is a pretty easy back-to-back. Philly tonight, in Charlotte tomorrow. Yeah, you can limit the minutes, but there's no sense that Randle is going to sit out, at least right now. Now, hey, if he re-aggravates something tonight, tomorrow's another story. But right now, the plan is for Randle to play some minutes, maybe not full minutes today, tomorrow, but play. Dante DiVincenzo looked great on Sunday. At some point, I do anticipate him transitioning back to the starting lineup. Just a matter of getting his conditioning all the way back to where it needs to be. Then the question becomes, is Chris Finch truthful when he says 10-man rotation is in play? I still wonder if it's a 9-man rotation, 9.5 maybe, situational. Okay, Terrence Shannon, we need some energy on offense. Jalen Clark, we need that defensive presence. Okay, Rob Dillingham, you can bring this to the table. I don't know. I guess I just need to see it to believe that Chris Finch is going to roll with a 10-man rotation for these last, 2021 games.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 9 is, I'll take 9 after 7-man rotations for much of the year, dudes. We'll take 9.
Yeah.
All right.
And 9 is fine. The question is, okay, you have your obvious 8, although we all understand Mike Conley Jr., like there's been a step back. We all love him as a human. Heck, phenomenal career, but he just isn't the same player now that he was even last year. But I don't see him falling out of that 8. Gobert back pretty darn soon. And so I'm talking about Gobert being part of this mix. But Phil, I heard you on with Kyle, or maybe it was just with Judd. I know you made the point that it's time to cut Rudy Gobert's minutes. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that. You can sell me on that, but he's still going to be part of the rotation. He's going to start, right? So Rudy is still going to play a good amount of minutes. So then who is that 9th man? Is it Terrence? Is it Jalen Clark? Is it Rob Dillingham? I think it'll be situational.
Yep. All right, Dukes, we got to run. Good scoop session. Plenty more on Thursday. Reckless speculation Thursday on the eve, I guess, of the weekend of free agency. So we'll do it again.
Sounds good, boys. Right. Have a great Tuesday. See ya.
There we go. Little scoop session with Darren Doogie Wolfson, 5 Eyewitness News, Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd.